Alright, so this video is going to be continuation for video number 1, which was on easy examples, and this one is going to be more difficult, more challenging ones. So the first problem that I've got here is going to be, we're going to start with a little bit easier. If you know your roots, it should be easy. It's going to be root 2 tan x times cosine of x, which equals 0. The first thing, oops, my bad, I'm going to rewrite this. It's supposed to be tan x cosine of x minus tan x equals 0. I'm making these problems in my head, so sorry for the mistake. So, but anyway, what I think when I see this equation is that we have tan of x, and what that means is that we can factor tan of x out. So if we do that, we will get tan of x times root 2 cosine of x minus 1, which equals 0. So now what we can do is we can just divide this into two different parts. The first part is going to be tan of x, which equals 0. So where does tan of x equals 0? You have to think about it a little bit. Well, tan of x equals 0 at the angle 0 and the angle pi. So this is going to be your first answer. Your second answer is going to be root 2 cosine of x minus 1 equals 0, and you will have to solve for cosine of x. So cosine of x will be equal to negative 1 over root 2. Remember, you cannot have roots at the bottom, so you gotta multiply this by root 2. This is by root 2, so you get cosine of x is equal to negative root 2 over 2. So where does cosine of x equals root 2, negative root 2 over 2? Well, that angle is going to be at 3 pi over 4. So theta is going to be equal to 3 pi over 4 and 5 pi over 4 and 5 pi over 4. So this is going to be your answer. Moving on. The next problem is going to be 2 cosine squared x minus cosine of x equals 0. Now again, I'm going to factor cosine of x. So cosine of x, you multiply this by 2 cosine of x minus 1, which equals 0. So now I'm going to break this down into cosine of x equals 0 and 2 cosine of x minus 1 equals 0. So cosine of x equals 0 at the angles pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. Now we need to solve for this one. We need to solve for cosine of x. So cosine of x is going to be equal to 1/2. So theta is going to be equal to pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. Boom, that's your answer. Moving on. The next problem is going to be 4 cosine square x over 2 equals 3. Now the first thing you need to do is to divide both sides by 4. So you get cosine square x over 2 equals 3 over 4. Now what you need to do is you need to multiply, or you need to take the square root of cosine square x over 2. So cosine x over 2 will give you root 3 over 2. And remember that you need to apply your laws for standard convention, right? So this has to be equal to plus or minus root 3 over 2. Okay, now what you can do is you can break them down into cosine of x over 2 equals root 3 over 2 and negative root 3 over 2. So now you can find the angle. So theta is going to be equal to positive root 3 over 2. And that is going to be at the angle points of, what do you guys think? Where will it lie? Well, the first point is going to be pi over 6. The second point is going to be 11 pi over 6. The third point is going to be 7 pi over 6. And the fourth is going to be 5 pi over 6. There you go. These four are your answers. Alright, we're going to do one more. Let's see what we got. So we have tan theta minus 2 tan theta sine theta equals 0. Again, very similar. You will need to factor out a tan theta. And if I factor it out, I get 1 minus 2 sine theta, which equals 0. So tan theta is equal to 0, and 1 minus 2 sine theta is equal to 0. So where does tan theta equal 0? At 0 and pi. So that is going to be your one answer. And your second answer is going to be negative 2 sine theta is equal to negative 1. Sine theta equals 1/2. So theta is going to be at the angle where sine equals 1/2. And sine equals 1/2 at pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. There we go. That is your answer. We're going to do one more. This is going to be the last one. We are going to have, let's see if we can make up. Alright, we're going to have 4. Let's do some problems with sine. 4 sine square x minus 3 equals 0. So try to pause the video and try to do this problem on your own. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is to add 3 onto both sides. So we get 4 sine square x equals 3. And then of course I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And I'm going to take the square root. So I get sine of x equals root 3 over 4. I'm sorry, root 3 over 2. Root 3 over 2. Boom, that's my answer. But remember that this has to be plus or minus. So theta is going to be equal to pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 5 pi over 3, and 4 pi over 3. How do I know this? Because I know my unit circle. Alright, that's it for this video. I hope that you enjoy and enjoy learning.